What if I told you Bitcoin could hit $250,000 way sooner than you think? And no, this isn't clickbait. I've got a date, I've got reasons, and by the end of this video, you might be way more bullish than ever. But there is a twist that could send this all into chaos. So let's get into it, break it down simple, fast, and yes, I'll reveal exactly when I think this could happen. But first, you need to understand the why. So I'm gonna go through 5 reasons why Bitcoin will hit $250,000 and probably a lot sooner than you think. The first one is the Bitcoin halving. This happens every 4 years, and essentially you get half as much Bitcoin for mining as you did the previous 4 years. And that's why Bitcoin is in this constant cycle of going up, and then it crashes, stays down for a couple years, and it goes back up. Imagine if there's a really popular toy that's being made, people are loving it, but all of a sudden the production gets cut in half. There's only half as many made. How much more desperate would the fans be to get their hands on that toy, and what would it do to the price? That's exactly what happens to Bitcoin every 4 years. Now, in the past, we've seen this push the all-time high of Bitcoin around 3 to 4x from 20K to around 70K in the last bull run. So if we take 3 to 4x from the previous all-time high around 70K, that puts us right at that mark of 250K. But I actually think we're going to go even higher this run, but more on that later. Reason number 2 is that the big banks are finally in. For so long, they said this was magic internet money. Bitcoin was a joke. They weren't allowing their customers to invest in it, but that has all changed as of recent. Now, not only are the big banks buying Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, but they're even helping, which is going to make Bitcoin easier to access than ever. Now, number 3 is another reason that's going to make it even easier for people to access Bitcoin, and that's ETFs. An ETF is something that you can buy on the stock market that follows the price of Bitcoin. A big reason that people didn't want to get into crypto, like for example, my dad, was because they didn't want to have to set up a crypto wallet and have this long seed phrase and passcode and all these things that made acquiring cryptocurrency way more difficult than just buying a stock. This changes all that, because with one click now, the Bitcoin ETF lets you invest in Bitcoin without ever having to touch Bitcoin. Number 4 is global chaos. People want safety. They want consistency. They want to know that their money is not going to go up or down out of their control. And lately, with inflation, with war, with global economies collapsing, there's been so much fear around the financial system that Bitcoin's volatility is almost starting to feel safe. And as it gets more regulated, and the one thing that people love about Bitcoin is you can never print more. There's only 21 million. And while the price is volatile, you don't have to worry that someone's behind the scenes pulling the strings and messing with your money. It's almost like Bitcoin is digital gold that you can carry around in your pocket. And more people are waking up to the fact that this could be one of the best investments of our lifetime. Now, reason number 5 is that there's not enough for everyone. As I mentioned, there's only 21 million Bitcoin in the world, but there's 56 million millionaires. And that means if every millionaire wanted to own one Bitcoin, there wouldn't be enough. So even if you just look at this from a basic supply and demand point of view, more and more people are going to want to own Bitcoin as a store of value. And that's not even taking into consideration what happens if Bitcoin becomes a status symbol to actually own a whole Bitcoin. Then things could go to a whole nother level. Okay, so when do I think this could all happen? There's a lot of people predicting that mid to late 2026, a year plus out, we're going to hit something like a 250K range. But I actually think it could happen a lot faster than that. And my prediction is that by the end of this year, 2025, we will have a $250,000 Bitcoin. Right now, on the surface, it looks like the momentum is building slowly towards that. But if you look behind the scenes at what the banks, the government, and even our president are doing, acquiring massive amounts of crypto, the vision is clear if you can just see past the noise and past all of the fear and FUD that's on the news. Now, there is one thing that could send this all into a spiral downward, and that is recession, whether that comes from inflation, from wars, from tariffs, from fear. There are a lot of things looming over the market right now that are keeping people fearful, and for good reason, because we've seen this affect the market negatively several times, even just in the past few years. So my advice right now is not to risk anything that you can't afford to lose, or at least hold through a loss for the next year or two, just in case that happens. But if you do have the funds and the ability right now to invest in especially larger coins like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Avalanche, I think that there's no way that in the next year or two, you aren't really happy with that investment. And remember, Bitcoin just hit all-time high yesterday, which means every person who has ever bought a Bitcoin in the history of Bitcoin is now officially in profit again, which is an amazing thing to see. So what do you think? Will Bitcoin ever hit 250K? And if so, when do you think it'll happen? Drop your price predictions down below in the comments, and we'll come back to this video after we see what happens in the next 6 to 12 months. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I'm Matt from Idiot Genius, and I'll see you on the next video.